Todd McLees is a trailblazer at the intersection of technology, leadership, and the future of work. As a founder of Pendio Group, and more recently, co-founder of HumanSkills.ai, Todd has dedicated his career to helping organizations and individuals thrive in a world transformed by AI, automation, and disruption. His work empowers people to adapt and excel in the rapidly evolving human-powered AI economy. Recognized as a strategist and thought leader, Todd challenges us to ask the big questions. How AI-agile are you? How do we leverage groundbreaking tools while retaining the human-first elements that make engineers irreplaceable? Todd believes that while machines compute, humans create. His mission is to equip educators and professionals alike with the mindsets and capabilities needed to lead with purpose, resilience, and innovation. Please welcome to the stage, Todd McLees.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks. It's such a great conference and wonderful to be a part of it. So I want to thank everybody at Kern Foundation and Keen for having me here this year. How many of you use AI tools every day? Quite a few hands going up. Many more than 6 months ago or a year ago. Honestly, the last week for me has been pretty unsettling. I have a small team of people, and all we really do is track what's going on in AI and what impact that will have on people, the way we work, the way we learn. And then we work with around 60 different universities and community colleges around the country to help them bring that into the classroom and into their institutions. In a world where we have no moat, I believe that technology is not the difference maker. It's our ability to adapt, to innovate, to hold fast to the qualities and the capabilities that make us uniquely human, the ones that, while AI can help us build and augment and amplify those capabilities, it can't replicate it. But that line is beginning to blur. So we know what the technologists are saying about AI. We've heard people like Sundar Pichai talk about AI being the most profound technology, the most profound discovery or invention since maybe even the discovery of control of fire. And then there's things they don't want us to know, which is a May 2023 memo that says there is no moat. And I think the unsettling part for me in the past week has been, it's never been more clear that there's been no moat. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But they're talking about the technology and the ability to replicate the models that are coming out fast at a fast and furious pace. In Q4 and Q1, every major vendor releasing new models, ever more capable, ever more intelligent, ever more powerful, until this week. So this is the most important technology that I've seen in my lifetime. At 56 years of age, I use AI tools roughly 30 hours a week. I talk about it 30 hours a week, and then my wife asked me to stop talking about it about 5 hours a week. Today's our 25th anniversary, so had to give her a shout out. The question for me isn't about artificial general intelligence or superintelligence and so forth. It's an important piece, but it's not the whole equation. I think it's much earlier than that, and I actually think it's right now. In 2017, McKinsey asked a group of AI experts, when do you think generative AI or intelligent machines will be able to perform the tasks that are categorized on the left at the level of the top quartile of human performance? And so if we think about that, the top quartile, if you have an organization of 1,000 people or 100 people or 50 people, that top quartile they're typically a good group of employees. Many of you, I'm sure, fall within the top quartile. But you can see the estimates in 2017, for instance, third from the bottom, social and emotional output. The most aggressive estimate from an expert was that machines would surpass the top quartile of performance around 2035, the middle of the next decade. And the most conservative said 2062. And then in March of 2023, a new version based on GPT-4 of ChatGPT was released. And in May, the same month that the Google memo came out, they asked those experts again when they thought machines would be capable of surpassing human performance. And what you can see is that the timelines are not only much earlier, they're also much tighter. And I'm happy to have you take pictures, as many as you want. There's also a QR code at the end, so you can just have the slides. Now it's been 18 months or more, coming up on 2 years since that estimate, that light blue line estimate. And I think what we're seeing already is that experts were way off 6 years, in a 6-year time frame. And in the last 2 years, it's still moving faster than anybody anticipates, even the people who are building it. And they're not exactly sure why it behaves in certain ways, or why it continues to become more and more powerful in ways that they never really imagined. For instance, on that same line, there was a study done a couple of months ago from the JAMA Network, and it had to do with healthcare. And what they did was they looked at responses, customer reactions or patient reactions to messages sent through the electronic health record system. So you go in, you ask a question, the physician comes back to you, or one of his assistants or her assistants comes back to you and answers the question. And what they found was that patient satisfaction was much higher when AI answered the question, much higher. And the number one driving factor was that it was found to be 70%. 70% of people found it to be more empathetic than the humans. So in isolated data points, there's already the opportunity for AI to do some of those things because it is capable of emulating empathy. One of the major mind shifts that has to happen, again, this is May of 2023, Boston Consulting Group put 750 people in a room, and half of them were given 18 assignments to do, and half of them were given GPT-4 to work with, a far inferior model to what we're working with today. And the other half was the control group, and they didn't have access, and you can see the results. The most interesting one is on the right side, and it has to do with quality, right? We need to, in this time where there is no moat, it's not about more, it's about better. It's about increasing quality. So while they were able to, the group with GPT were able to get tasks done faster, it was the fact that the increase in the quality of the work went up 40%. Now imagine that, a top 5 management consulting firm in the world, and people given access to AI were augmented to the point where the quality of the work was judged to be 40% higher than at baseline. The other interesting thing that happened is people who were in the bottom half of performers got a much greater boost, and it actually eliminated the baseline proficiency gap across the organization. So this can be seen if we use it, if we can teach people to leverage this technology to augment and amplify our own capabilities, it can be seen as an opportunity to level the playing field. This is now a 10-year-old graphic from Tim Urban, but we are here now. We're going vertical with regard to human progress and technological progress. You know all of the converging technologies given this audience around not just AI, but nuclear fusion and nanotechnology and quantum computing and so on, biogenetic engineering. So let's talk about what vertical means and what implications there are there. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA talked just earlier this month, about the slope that we're on and that we've experienced generative AI, and this is the year of agentic AI. We're seeing releases over the last couple of days from major vendors like OpenAI releasing Operator. Anthropic is coming out with a new tool, but it actually controls your computer. You ask it to book you a table, and it opens your Open Table app and books the table that you want at the time that you want. And if it doesn't give you the time that you want, it comes back and asks you a question, and it actually does those things autonomously. And of course, in an enterprise setting and at scale, where we're headed in the next 12 months is extraordinarily capable agents that are able to perform tasks in an autonomous way, complex tasks. And that's going to have a profound impact on the previous slide that you saw around the automation of many of the lower cognitive tasks. Today, there's one PhD for every 1,000 people in the world. I'm sure there's many PhDs in the room, so I'm going to be very careful. This is expected to be AI's iPod moment. So in 25 years, we're going from 1,000 songs in your pocket, the famous Steve Jobs line, to 1,000 PhDs in your pocket. That's the thought, is that we will have access to abundant intelligence. And I can tell you that in working with the latest models, one of them pre-release, the IQ is expected to be, I'll show you the slide in just a second, but it's expected to be in the 145 to 150 area. Raw intelligence, of course, not all cognitive capabilities that are so important in human capabilities. So for the last year or so, I've been operating under this premise that there are 4 possibilities as it relates to generative AI models. Today, I really believe that there are only 2 possibilities. That certainly for the next 2 years or so, we will continue on an exponential path of improvement. Every lab, every major frontier lab that are building these models are all aligning up now and talking about artificial general intelligence just this week at Davos, between 2 and 5 years from now. That's the stretch. It used to be 2029, 2030, 2050, and so forth. But now they're saying 2 years. Some have said sooner than that. OpenAI is on record as saying sometime in the next 12 to 18 months, they expect to get to an AGI that's capable of most cognitive tasks. What's lacking in our world right now is not powerful AI. It's here. Many of you, I'm sure, are using some of the latest models. I am. It's extraordinarily powerful when you work with it in a way to amplify and augment yourself. What's lacking are the use cases to leverage abundant intelligence. And this is where you come in. This is where entrepreneurial mindset comes in. This is where creativity and a sense of wonder come in. We are not used to working with tools that are this capable. And the opportunity that we have now is to help frame these use cases, frame these capabilities in the minds of students, our peers, this room, to find the use cases that matter most, that deliver the most value. This is made possible by something called inference compute. It's actually the 3rd scaling law of compute capability as it relates to AI. This has to do with test time training rather than pre-training the model. So AI is not being built today to simply go faster. It's nice. I know we're used to getting that immediate response in the Amazon Prime world that we live in. We look for something immediate. But what they're designing now are models that can go and think. I broke my record the other day and made it think for 8 minutes and 2 seconds. But they see it thinking for a day or a week or a month and then coming back and asking us for more data to go away and think again. Go run this experiment in the lab, come back and give me that input, and then I'll go think again. In order to solve the hardest problems, they're building machines that are capable of reasoning. TrackingAI.org is a site that every week they update the AI models and their capabilities in terms of the Mensa Norway test. It's one proxy, one data point. But you can see the leap that we've taken here in the last couple of months to models in the 120 range. The model that I'm testing right now is O3, and this slide is probably a little off. The data that I'm getting back, not my own data, but others are talking about 145 to 150. So they're growing in capability. And they expect another order of magnitude leap this year with O4. They talked about that this week as well. So AI is becoming more and more capable. All of these are capable models. And then this week, an open source model out of China called DeepSeek destroyed everybody's thought about us needing to build massive data centers and throw hundreds of billions of dollars. OpenAI, the most capable model on the left with O1, they spent $1 billion training that model. And the output costs some $60 per million tokens. A million tokens is 8 to 12 novels, depending on how long of a book you like to read. And the open source model came out and it said, well, actually, we can do the same and we can do it for 95% less. Rob, I wonder if you could back up a couple slides. There you go, thanks. So they've actually created a new benchmark for the AI models as well. Because it was performing so well against the standard benchmarks like the GPQA Diamond test and the MMLU, all the standardized tests, they decided we need something else, and they rolled that out this week, and it's called Humanity's Last Exam. It's 3,000 questions. Today, the most capable models only get right around 10%, but by the end of the year, they expect it to be 30%. Now think about this. Look at the division there of the distribution, rather, of the questions. Think about this, the title of this exam. You walk into an exam room, you sit down, there's 3,000 questions. What percent do you think you would get? So we're creating new benchmarks for AI, and they cost less than ever. The issue of democratization of intelligence and these tools will not be one of the technology. Very capable models right now are free. The issue around accessibility for people from underserved communities, for people from high-need neighborhoods, for everybody, is about training. It's about learning how to use these tools to augment us, not automate us out of the picture. Every company, every major company will release new models a couple of times this year, and we will see models that are an order of magnitude stronger, and that will result in the less capable models, today's models, being made available for less and less and free. So it creates this capability gap. Let's talk about what impact that has as it continues to improve exponentially and we don't. Couple of proof points. David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, recently talked about when a company goes public, they may come to Goldman Sachs and say, take us public. And one of the things they have to complete is an S1 prospectus, a form. It has historically taken 6 Goldman Sachs bankers 2 weeks to complete that task, to the tune of $250,000 or more to the client. David Solomon came out last week and said, well, AI does 95% of that now. The only thing that matters is the last 5%. The other 5% is commodity. The other 95% is a commodity. We have to differentiate based on the 5%, and it's not just in investment banking. Mark Zuckerberg, I'm sure you've seen the news about Mark Zuckerberg talking about by the end of this year at Meta, AI will be performing mid-level engineering tasks. Total compensation for those jobs among their 40,000 engineers is between $300,000 and $500,000 a year. Great jobs. OpenAI won up that and said, we think we'll be ready for level 6 programming out of our AIs this year. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff came out and said, we already have 6,000 software engineers. Because they're so much more productive than they've ever been before working alongside of AI, we don't see hiring software engineers this year. So we have challenges to differentiate ourselves in that 5%. Many of the cognitive tasks are commoditized and of little value. This is a framework we published in Harvard Business Review in December, and it invites people to leverage AI. When we walk into enterprises or institutions around the country, they're leveraging AI, but it's down at that lower level of individual improvements. How can I get my lesson plan done faster in an academic setting? How can I get my emails done, my referral letters, et cetera, et cetera? We have to play up. We have to find ways. We have to help people imagine and wonder and use our entrepreneurial skills to find ways to deliver value in the form of reimagining process, focusing on customer value, and delivering tangible value leveraging AI to deliver more than we ever could on our own. Every industrial revolution ever has required new skill sets. If you look at the second industrial revolution, when the telephone, the gas combustion engine, and electrification all happened within a decade. When that took place, we also know that the scientific theory of management came forward, the assembly line, mass production, the middle class, the 8-hour workday, the 40-hour work week, everything changed at work. And what they were after were skills that would help them take risk out of their business. As we leap into the next industrial revolution driven by these emerging technologies that we just mentioned a little bit ago, what it's about is being able to work with AI to have a skills-based mindset and to develop human skills. Even the technology leaders will tell you that it feels very human-like. It's difficult to not anthropomorphize if you work with AI a lot, but it will not replace the human qualities. You can feel the difference as to whether or not something's been produced by AI or by a human being. This is a framework that we started developing around 8 years ago. You can see there's lots of overlap in some of the skills that I was really taken aback when I saw this board yesterday. I thought it was a great project, super creative, and it got me thinking last night about ways to think about how we could leverage these skills in combination with AI to augment these skills, to help our young engineers build these skills, to cultivate an entrepreneurial mindset. Because my whole company is about, I believe fully that if we leverage AI, generative AI, in the right way, it won't lead to deterioration of critical, high cognitive, and socio-emotional skills like critical thinking. It will help us build those skills. That's just a little plug for the workshop right after this if you want to learn how to do that. I would add to this wonderful list of entrepreneurial mindset that in the age of AI, we have to have agility as it comes to working with AI. We have to have a human-first AI mindset or approach to working with it. And we have to unleash our inner 5-year-old. We have to go into these sessions working with AI, not the transactional stuff, but when we're sitting down to do strategic work, can we find ways to release the wonder and imagination and find ways to deliver more value for ourselves, for the people that we work with, for the people we're delivering services to? So AI agility is simply this. We believe that there is a relationship between people being able to explore their human potential and organizational value. I believe that when you know how to use these tools really well and in healthy ways, it allows you to release your imagination and find ways to add new value. You become naturally more inquisitive and curious and exploratory in your work with AI. You go deeper. But you have to be able to manage that creative energy as well, and that's where human-AI partnerships come into place, because we have to help people build healthy habits and sustainable practices. They have to augment and amplify, not offload too much. Cognitive offload is a huge risk when it comes to AI. But when I build good habits, I can recognize when I am not feeling great about my collaboration. And when I have those skills, it's much easier to live within the guardrails of a responsible AI policy at your institutions or within the enterprise. And lastly, if I'm focused on building human skills, it will be much easier for me to navigate the fast-moving skills-based economy. This is information from last week with the World Economic Forum's 2025 jobs report. You can see that engineers looks good. I would say engineers who can articulate the value of what they're building are really safe for the next decade or so. It feels really good right now. But we have to help them find the balance between the technical skills and the human skills. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, I think we're at this key point. Facebook is 21 years old now. And it took us 15 years to figure out that social media wasn't necessarily good for our brains. It was 2019 when that group released The Social Dilemma on Netflix. In March of 23, ChatGPT came out, and that same group released the AI Dilemma in May. It didn't take 15 years. It took 2 months. The stakes are very high. The same companies that brought us internet search, e-commerce, and social media, and said goodbye to our privacy and so forth, they're the same exact companies that are bringing us AI. This is going to come down to our ability to teach people to develop agency as it relates to using these tools. We cannot let it happen to us like we did as teachers and as parents and as friends and family. We can't let it happen to us like we let social media happen to us. The stakes are too high. The stakes are too high. So we have to take a human-first approach, and we have to balance productivity with well-being. So when I look at my own human skills framework, or I look at the entrepreneurial mindset framework, I think it's an amazing set of skills. But we have to be more about being a human being than a human doing. I can tell you that my work in progress folder on my laptop is 10 times larger than it was 3 years ago, because everything seems like a good idea. And this ability to create rather than consume is intoxicating. If you think dopamine bursts on a like on Facebook are strong, wait till people are knocking out 3-page PhD level summaries on a presentation they just saw. But we have to take those things to fruition. We have to help people find the balance between productivity and well-being. And if for no other reason, there's a great economic value reason why. During this decade, we expect that generative AI, according to McKinsey's numbers, will add $4.4 trillion to the global economy each year. But employee well-being is worth nearly $12 trillion a year. So not only should we not allow ourselves to see AI implemented in a way that can cost us our well-being and erode all of that value so quickly, but we should do it in such a way that it can actually boost our well-being. Because going back to the first slide, and Sundar Pichai talking about the profundity of how profound this technology is, the only way over the long haul, over centuries, that we've been able to measure the profundity of a technology is its impact on human flourishing. If we can't help people flourish, if we can't help them be the best version of themselves, what is the point of trillions of dollars of investment and all of the worry that it causes all of us? There are ways to leverage AI in such ways that you can be hyper-productive and you can build your well-being. But the companies aren't going to do it for us. They're going to make the machines faster and better, think longer and harder and more capably. Our job is to still help people be better humans. Maybe more important than ever. If you would like all of these slides, just fill out the form behind that QR code, and I'm happy to send them to you. And thank you very much for the time this morning.